Hi, good morning, everybody. How are you today? It is a dreary, overcast morning. It rained overnight and it's just dark out and one of those spring days that I want to just curl up with a blanket and not really even do this reading today. But I think it's important that I do this reading. For those of you who are joining one of these videos for the first time, I'd like to welcome you. Here's what we do here. We go through the different stories in the Bible for people who don't know what the stories are. Maybe you've only heard bits and pieces of the stories. You only know what somebody has told you about them, but you've never actually heard them or read them for yourself. Well, we go through them so that you have an opportunity to know what they say. That way, when they come up in conversation or you have questions about them, you also have answers. We go live on Facebook. If you are watching this on YouTube, we go live on Facebook first and then we upload it to YouTube, and we thank you for watching on YouTube. Please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us a lot. We've been going through the story of Nehemiah. Nehemiah has been rebuilding the wall, the fortified wall around the city of Jerusalem. He was given permission from the king that he worked for to go repair this wall. And he's gathered many workers together who have been working on this wall. But at the same time that this has been going on, they're being met with a lot of skepticism and opposition. There are people who are oppressing the people of the land, and Nehemiah has got them to stop doing that. Now he is continuing to finish up the finer details of this wall. And we're going to start with chapter 6 of Nehemiah today. When Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem, and Arab, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall and that no gap was left in it, though at the time I had not installed the doors in the city gates, Sanballat and Geshem sent me a message. Come, let's meet together in the villages of the Ono Valley. They were planning to harm me. So I sent messengers to them saying, I am doing important work and cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you? 4 times they sent me the same proposal, and I gave them the same reply. Sanballat sent me the same message a 5th time by his aide, who had an open letter in his hand. In it was written, It is reported among the nations, and Geshem agrees, that you and the Jews plan to rebel. This is the reason you are building the wall. According to these reports, you are to become their king, and have even set up the prophets in Jerusalem to proclaim on your behalf, there is a king in Judah. These rumors will be heard by the king, so come, let's confer together. Then I replied to him, There is nothing to these rumors you are spreading. You are inventing them in your own mind, for they were all trying to intimidate us, saying, They will drop their hands from the work and it will never be finished. But now, my God, strengthen my hands. I went to the house of Shimei, son of Deliah, son of Mehetabel, who was restricted to his house. He said, Let's meet at the house of God, inside the temple. Let's shut the temple doors, because they're coming to kill you. They're coming to kill you tonight. But I said, Should a man like me run away? How can someone like me enter the temple and live? I will not go. I realized that God had not sent him because of the prophecy he spoke against me. Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. He was hired so that I would be intimidated, do as he suggested, sin, and give a bad reputation in order that they could discredit me. My God, remember Tobiah and Sanballat for what they have done, and also the prophetess Noadiah and the other prophets who wanted to intimidate me. The wall was completed in 52 days, and on the 25th day of the month, Elul, when all our enemies heard this, all the surrounding nations were intimidated, and lost their confidence, for they realized that this task had been accomplished by our God. During those days, the nobles of Judah sent many letters to Tobiah, and Tobiah's letters came to them. For many in Judah were bound by oath to him, since he was a son-in-law of Shechaniah, son of Ara, and his son, Jehohanan, had married the daughter of Meshullam, son of Berechiah. These nobles kept mentioning Tobiah's good deeds to me, and they reported my words to him. And Tobiah sent letters to intimidate me. How interesting. This is chapter 6 of Nehemiah. So the wall actually does get completed. There's a few details. He says he's not put the gates on the wall yet. There are 3 ways that we look at these stories when we read them. Remember that. 1, what does it say? We have to have reading comprehension. If you don't read the words on the page, you don't know what it says. 2, what was it saying to the people that it was written to, the people of the time, the culture, the history? We have to know the backstory. We have to know what's going on in order to understand it. And last, what, if anything, is this saying to us today? So let's unpack this and let's sort this out a little bit. Well, Sanballat and Tobiah are not happy that Nehemiah is completing this wall. So they send messages to him. Sanballat sends a message to him saying, hey, come down from the wall and let's talk about what you're doing. And Nehemiah is like, no, you're not going to distract me. You people are against me. You're my enemies. I'm not coming down. I'm doing what God has told me to do. So they send another message. This time it's an open letter, which was something like, it would be if you got an official letter, say, from the IRS saying you're being audited. And this letter is a report, and it says, you are trying to rebuild this wall so that you guys can rebel against us, and that's why you're doing it, and you're setting yourself up to be the king of these people. And in fact, you've already gotten prophets put in place to declare you king. And he says to the messenger, he says, there is nothing to these rumors that you guys are making up. You're making them up so that you can distract me and get me to come down from this wall and stop the work that God has told me to do. And I'm not doing that. So he continues, and God strengthens him. He continues to give him strength, and he also gives him wisdom. Then he goes to what he thinks is his friend's house, Shemaiah. And his friend says to him, hey, let's go hide out in the temple. Let's go in the temple and hide out, because these people are going to kill you tonight. They're going to kill you. And Nehemiah says to him, he says, I don't think I should run. Am I the kind of person who's going to run? I haven't run yet. What would make you think I would run now? And aside from that, I'm not worthy to go into God's temple. I'm not a priest. I can't do that. And he realizes, God gives him discernment, and he realizes, this is not a friend of mine. This guy's been paid off by Tobiah. He's been sent by Tobiah to distract me. What they want to do is get me in the temple, discredit me somehow, and then tell all the people, see what this guy's done? They were going to make him look bad, start some rumors and spread lies about him. Then he goes on to say that the wall got completed. And when the enemies heard that, they were quite concerned. They realized that the task that Nehemiah had set out to do was ordained by God. Now, people can be afraid of other people, but when somebody becomes afraid of God, that's when the real problem starts, because then they have no recourse. You can't stop God from doing what God is going to do. And God wanted Nehemiah to rebuild this wall, and they realized they were not going to be able to stop God. So Tobiah is a very powerful man, and there are a lot of people that work under him, that answer to him, and they are very concerned. And so they keep going to Tobiah, trying to get on Tobiah's good side, because Tobiah is trying to intimidate Nehemiah this whole time. Everybody's trying to intimidate him because they don't want the plans of God to succeed. They are enemies of God. Now, Nehemiah had asked God, please remember what they have done. Please remember how they have intimidated me. So what, if anything, is this saying to us today? My takeaway, and you maybe got something completely out of this, I really believe that, the Word of God can stand alone. When we read these stories in the Bible, when we start to understand the nature of God's character and how He arranges things and how He does things, it begins to speak some truth into our lives. And for me, as I read this, the thing that I remembered, is that the enemy will do many things in our lives to try to distract us from accomplishing what God has set out for us to accomplish. One of the things in my life that I feel God has asked me to do is to continue bringing the Bible stories to people who maybe have never heard them or have forgotten them. And some days I'm tired and I don't want to do that, and today was one of those days. But I recognize that that's the enemy saying to me, hey, let's just distract you from doing what it is that God wants you to do. It's very easy sometimes. It would have been very easy for Nehemiah to have listened to these rumors that were being said about him and said, sure, I'll meet with you so I can set this straight. But had he done that, he would have veered off from the true purpose that he was there, and that was to work on the wall like God had told him to do. So again, I think that there are many things that the enemy will do to create distractions in our lives to keep us from accomplishing the will of God. Interesting to me was how persistent not only Nehemiah was, but how persistent his enemies were. They didn't actually harm, nor could they have harmed Nehemiah, because he had orders from the king that he was allowed to go ahead and rebuild this wall. And also God was with him and gave him wisdom and protected him. But remember that sometimes the enemies of God are also persistent. But we must be more persistent as we continue to do the things that God places in front of us to do, and not get distracted by rumors that other people might be saying, the naysayers in our lives, the people who say, oh, you'll never get that done, or, well, I don't think you should do it that way. As long as you are doing the will of God, you're not doing anything wrong, and you ought not be distracted by the enemy. So that's my takeaway from Nehemiah 6. I look forward to us being together again later and continuing with the story of Nehemiah. It's an interesting story for sure. I hope you have a great day. God bless.